shared with y'all the idea that sometimes in places like back pain where we don't automatically think pelvic floor, we need to consider the pelvic floor in situations where it's not always the first answer. But the reverse is also true, and that's kind of what I hope to show in today's reel, that sometimes when we have symptoms that seem very specific to the pelvic floor, it's actually worth considering some of the neighbors of the pelvic floor and how they influence it. And two really big neighbors are hip mobility and rib cage mobility, because the hip and the pelvic floor share a lot of muscles in attaching there on the pelvis and the tailbone and the femur. And because diaphragm function and pelvic floor function are so intricately tied together. So we've talked about before how both need to lower on your inhale and lift on your exhale. So the position of the rib cage in space and the position of the pelvic floor in space can affect that relationship and that communication between the diaphragm and the pelvic floor. So how mobile your rib cage is can change how it's able to interact with your pelvic floor and vice versa. And not only is it about the mobility and the relationship of the other two, I'm in my in-laws' basement making this message, and the cat is mad at me and trying to break in the door. It's a little bit distracting. Anyway, so not only is it a matter of the positioning of your rib cage and your pelvis, but also that your diaphragm has a lot of attachments into your lumbar spine, and that the nerves from your thoracic spine come out to supply your pelvic floor and your hips. So they're all very interconnected and have a big effect on each other.